Hey, this is Salem.
And Dusty.
And you are listening to the Sock Drawer Podcast on Realm of the Mist Entertainment. Everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Sock Drawer, brought to you by... Yes, thank you.
We changed our name a little bit, people. Don't be confused.
You are such a mother.
I know.
You are such a mother. You were staring at me like a hawk. You're just like, yeah, I'm going through the intro, guys. Welcome to the Sock Drawer Podcast. Podcast on Realm of the Mist Entertainment. Thank you so much. My name is Salem.
I'm Dusty.
Dusty the Hawk. And we have a guest with us tonight. How about you introduce yourself, my friend?
Yeah, everybody. This is Chris from What's Your Effin' Binge?
And Chris, would you like to tell us a little bit about What's Your Effin' Binge? Granted, we've been on it.
Yep,
but
we haven't told anybody about it yet.
We haven't told anybody about it yet. So why don't you go ahead?
It's not uploaded anywhere
Okay,
yet.
yeah. So what we do is we talk to other podcasters and celebrities about what they're currently binge watching. The twist is we don't want to know what the show is that you're going to talk about before we do the interview. So it's more of a discovery piece. We have to ask who, what, when, where, why, and how. And hopefully we're able to guess what the name of the show is. And most of the time we're right. Sometimes we're wrong. That's okay. That just adds to the overall comedy of the deal. But through the magic of editing, my co-host and I, Joe, we come back having watched the pilot and the majority of the first season at least, and then we come back and tell everybody what we thought about the show, and we rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 for watchability, or sometimes we might just say it's plain dumpster juice and we don't know why the fuck you're watching it to begin with. But that's basically it in a nutshell, man.
Well, we were on your show as the Sock Drawer.
As for a future episode.
For future episode.
So
I don't know.
Go looking for it yet,
guys.
guys.
Uploaded yet, but
we'll put a link out when it comes out.
Yeah, it'll be out when it's out. I don't know if the Sock Drawer, this episode that we're recording, is going to drop first or not. But
oh, it will.
You can find it. You can find it wherever Realm of the Mist puts everything. We'll get to that at the end of the podcast. How's that sound? By the way, Chris, what are you binging so far? What's your recent binge? Just
today I just finished up. So at last month we did a voting on our fan group. We have close to 1,000 followers between on our social media and everything, and we had a big vote on what retro series they wanted us to binge watch. And we threw out a lot of different examples from MASH. Somehow or another, my co-host and I, we work a reference to MASH into almost every episode because it ran so fucking long. So we have MASH, we had Cheers, we had Friends, we had Seinfeld, Charmed, quite a few other shows. Anyways, at the final vote was done and it ended up being Cheers that we have to watch. So I ended up, I just finished watching that. I wrapped up Doomsday Preppers, which was another interview that we had to do. I also wrapped up the new Sabrina, which is an interview I did with Marilyn Gigliotti. Did you guys see Clerks, the movie?
I don't recall.
No,
did you see?
But Sabrina, I watched. I binged that.
Okay, all right. Marilyn is one of the stars of Clerks 1 and 2 and also was in Jay and Silent Bob and Jay and Silent Bob the reboot. And that was her binge that she wanted us to watch. So I just got finished with that and Narcos. Those are the most recent ones that I finished.
How was Narcos? Or are you going to wait until you...
No, I'm okay talking about what I have to say about it at this point. I enjoy the series. I was alive during the 80s, so I remember a lot of this stuff. The nostalgia and everything that they weave the story around is really cool. However, I fucking hate subtitles. I'm American. If I see someone with brown skin, I'm assuming they're talking Mexican. I don't need the subtitles for it. I fucking hate that. I just hate that.
Understood.
It ruins the show for you. You know, whenever you're watching something that's set in Latin America, if someone looks like they have a tan, assume they're speaking in fucking, Spanish. That's cool. I'm cool with that. I don't care one way or the other. But I hate watching a TV show. I hate reading a TV show.
Right. I'm a bit different. I have trouble hearing, so
you have to have the subtitles for everything just because you can't hear.
I think the worst thing I've ever done with my life was work at a call center.
Wait,
so whenever I used to
your personality?
Whenever I used to fight and wrestle professionally, I ended up having a perforated eardrum.
Mm-hmm.
It affected my hearing horribly for a few years. So I understand the pain of having to do and I think that's why I'm so resistant to it now, because I was forced to do the subtitles for a long time. And now I just refuse to do it. Like, it's an immediate, almost emotional flashback that here I am having to watch these fucking subtitles again. It instantly pisses me off.
My hearing is permanently bad. So
I'm still shocked you did a call center. Your personality doesn't do that.
No, I was desperate.
Okay, that makes sense.
I was desperate for work.
I can just hear now. Thank you for calling. No, forget that. Why are you bothering me?
Yeah, no. I actually did a month worth of training at it was a place called Sutherland, and they're essentially a call center, and they have a bunch of different places that they're a call center for.
Yes.
And for me, it was I think it was called Lacert. It was helping people who CPAs, fucking tax people, helping them with their tax programs. Okay, and they need to re-up their program, and one of the programs they used was Lacert.
And how long did you last after the month of training?
Month of training, I did great. I was excellent at it. Okay, I lasted for 3 days on the phones.
3 days.
3 days on the phones because I couldn't hear these people. I couldn't hear them on the phones. I had an incredibly difficult time understanding what they were saying, and like right now it's different, okay, because I'm listening to Chris through a headset. This headset is a professional headset, so the quality's actually good, unlike the headsets that we had back at Sutherland. But two, I'm also not sitting there, thinking that Chris is going to contact my supervisor at the end of our conversation.
Oh, don't worry. He's texting me off to the side about how much he hates you.
It's how shitty I am, so I can get fired. Like that's legitimately what happens. They show you videos of it when you're in the training, and so I'm sitting there trying to hear these people, and they really don't want dead air. They don't want you to make people repeat themselves.
Remember, I did customer service for 10 years, answering over 100 phone calls a day.
I did 3 days answering. I answered maybe 15 calls.
I'm so proud of you.
Okay, regardless, it was more than 15 calls, but it was just shitty, and I couldn't hear him, so I had to leave, and I didn't know why I even bothered trying. It was desperation, I guess. I was just desperate. It's dumb shit like that. Online sucks, ish. There's a lot of great things about it. A lot of shady things about it, and that's just the audio version of it is just how it is.
Well, I think I can shock Chris.
Shock?
Yeah, because he's my generation.
Okay.
And we've always had the Star Wars versus Star Trek. What's better? I actually can answer this now.
Well, Chris, you're listening. Go ahead.
Okay.
What's better?
What's better?
What's better, Chris?
To me, Star Wars by far.
Okay.
See, I used to say that, and then I watched The Rise of Skywalker. Skywalker, sorry.
Skywalker.
I can't talk today.
It's like a Conan Barbarian mashup.
This is later than I expected to be recording. Hush. After I watched that movie, I walked away from Star Wars, and I'm embracing Star Trek.
It's like a He-Man crossover.
Yeah, Picard is wonderful, and that's
Picard
where I
is
stand.
a good series.
I just binged it,
and from there's two different schools of thought, especially with this last trilogy closing. The reason I say Star Wars is better is because I grew up with this. One of the first theater experiences I ever had was seeing the movie. I've seen every movie on opening night or opening weekend at the very least. And there's just the romantic attachment of your youth to it. And Star Trek, I've always enjoyed it, but it's always been, a distant second just because of the romantic hero portion of, being a Jedi, fighting Darth Vader, all of that stuff. You just don't get that from the Star Trek series. I mean, there are some aspects here and there of kind of that, but not nearly. It's not the solo experience that, Star Trek, it takes the whole fleet, and Star Wars, it takes, one ship and a Jedi to make things happen. It's just always been a better series to me for that.
No, I used to agree with you because I grew up, same way, 4, 5, and 6. And then the next 3 came out, and I'm like, oh, these aren't very good, but I can tolerate. They got good moments. And then this last 3, especially the last one I just watched, it just was such a letdown. I had to walk away.
Got Disney-fied.
It had so much that didn't make sense.
Fuck, I never even watched them.
You heard me ranting.
I heard you.
And I warned you I'm gonna rant about it. #ramble rant.
I've heard a lot about Star Wars. I've read a lot about Star Wars on the internet. I've never really watched Star Wars. I watched Episode 4. I watched Rogue One, and I watched Solo. And I want all of that time of my life back. All of it. I want it back, and I'm not getting it back. But when hearing you ramble rant about this last Star Wars episode, whatever, and this wasn't on the air or anything. This is just us talking as people, because that's something that happens. It sounded horrible. Something about force healing, and his life is sacrificed to her, and then her life for him, and I don't know. It's weird. It's all weird.
It's all right, Sam.
They're trying to pull the old characters into the new thing, and they can't just make new characters that are interesting because they have to rely on the old character. I don't know. It's
okay.
It's all
You'll
weird.
Be all right.
It's Disney-fied. That's what Disney does. It's all the same fucking story every time. Anyway,
now you've turned Rutter completely off.
I don't know. Is Rutter off? He's probably sitting there going, "Man, this guy's got a bunch of problems." But what?
No, I'm just the kind of person that you buy the ticket, you take the ride. You know what you're signing up for, and at least sit down one time and watch it and enjoy the experience. Then you could go back and pick it apart afterwards. I've just always loved Star Wars enough that I appreciate each movie for its own individual ride. And now there's several of the movies I can pick apart all day long. Don't get me wrong. But like the first time I go and see it, because I've seen all of them multiple times at the theaters, and then I see them at home as well. And, the first time it's always I just enjoy the experience for what it is. Then later I'll go back and watch it and pick some of the shit apart. But I'm just a Star Wars fan who just enjoys the movie for what it is. And then, then I've also read all of the books. So there's a lot of stuff in the new trilogy that actually happened in the books that is considered canon by Lucas. So it's not actually as far-fetched as you think it is. It is in the Han Solo series. It's in the Darth Vader series. There's the Skywalker series as well. A lot of the stuff that you saw in this movie is actually part of the books. So I give them a much wider pass than you are, Dusty.
So basically, I have to read the books to appreciate the movie.
You do. With this one, if you're going to be like, I think what I have found so far in, critiquing some of this stuff with our show and whatnot, that the older the fan is, the more they need to have read the books to really appreciate what's being said in these new movies, because these new movies aren't for me and you, Dusty. These new movies are for the 12-year-old next door. They're not for us. So just like Star Wars wasn't for our parents, they were for us whenever we were kids. So whenever you watch a kid's movie, but you're coming to it as an adult with a critical eye, you can really lose out on the fun of it because you're looking at it with a critical eye. That's just,
I can see that.
Well, I guess every movie's gonna suck to me from now on. I don't know. I watched Doom Annihilation last night, and that was just not.
I wanted to dig my eyes out.
That's just.
You suggested it to be the show we talk about on the sock drawer, so let's watch this. I hate you. We're not talking about it. It's awful. I wanted to get up in the middle and just leave.
Instead, the movie that we're going to talk about,
which towards the end, is not that movie. God, no. Don't watch it.
Oh, man, that movie. The games are great.
I don't care if the games are great. The
games
movie
are wonderful. That was a horrible movie. Man.
That's one of several that have recently gone from game to movie, and rather other than like Resident Evil, there aren't too many of them who have been able to do a good job of going from video game to the movie.
Well, this one certainly didn't.
I certainly can't think of any that have done a good job.
Right? Other than a couple of the Resident Evils, there isn't any that have done well.
But yet they keep trying.
They
give
them
kudos for trying.
I mean, good for them, right?
Bad for us. We need to. If it says based on a video game, don't watch. We need to start doing that.
I guess so. I'm just waiting for them to come out with like Minecraft the movie.
I'd watch it. I'd be a moron and do it.
A whole universe based on blocks and pixels? No way. I could not sit through 2 hours of that.
Right now, it seems like all I'm doing is playing Minecraft for hours and hours and hours because I'm trapped in the house.
Yeah. What's it like being trapped? Because I'm not. I get to.
You're
get to
essential.
Go to work.
I know. So is Chris.
Chris is essential.
I get to go out in the world and fuck with the people. I'm not trapped.
Yeah, because his job relates to why you're essential.
Chris, what is your job? I don't know your job.
I'm a bartender, which means obviously I'm not essential at the moment. So I switched over to working at a liquor store, which here in Indiana means you are very essential.
And Salem, what do you do? Since he probably doesn't know.
Well, I work in the warehouse for a beer, liquor, and water distribution place. So.
Okay, yeah. So you work for Working or one of those guys? Yeah.
Yep. I used to be the truck driver, but then I decided that I liked night shift, I guess. And then, well, actually, no. It's the warehouse guy that we had while I was a trucker was so utterly horrible at his job that I was just talking to my boss. I said, man, anyone could replace this guy. And my boss is like, would you? And I was like, I think I'd be able to replace this guy pretty decently. He's like, could you start Monday? And I'm like, fuck.
He tricked you right into that one, didn't he?
Yeah. He went from driving for how many hours?
It was anywhere between 12 to 14 hours of driving.
From here to Pennsylvania and back.
Yep.
To working in a warehouse.
Yep.
Alone,
which is actually this is a good job. It's a good job. In fact, one of the many great things about that job is all of the great stories that you could tell about it, despite the fact that you work alone.
That's true.
It's true. Like this past week, I dumped a pallet.
Oh no.
That was great. It was a lot of fun.
How full a pallet?
Well, it wasn't exactly a very full pallet, but they decided within their infinite wisdom to stack 2 pallets on top of each other, right? Which is fine. Okay. They do that a lot. But in their infinite wisdom, they put the 16-ounce cans,
Mm-hmm.
the ones that come in the 6-packs, they put those on the bottom. And those are weebly wobbly. Very weebly wobbly. And they put the 24-ounce cans, which are heavier than 16-ounce cans, if you know how to do math, on the top. And so, using physics and inertia, as I'm lifting up the pallets with my forklift, and I'm going backwards. And it doesn't matter how slowly I applied the brake. so that I can then go from going backwards to going forward. I applied the brake, and the 16-ounce cans wobbled a little bit too close in my direction, actually, and the pallet dumped towards me. Granted, I'm protected by this big,
I was like,
forks and forklift.
Okay, I got worried there for a second.
But it was a lot of fun. It was an hour and a half of me just pissing and moaning, yelling. I was mad.
And picking up mess.
And picking up shit. And the worst part is that the tread on these forklifts fucking sucks. They're horrible. And
yeah, so they're not made for rodent. Once they get wet, you're over.
Yeah. And so you got a bunch of fucking beer just littering the entire floor.
Oh, that's great.
And you're trying to drive through it because you got to go through it to get to the trailer. It literally, as soon as I backed out of the trailer, and it fucking dumped on me. So, doesn't happen often. That was the one time that I can think of that was actually really bad. It's happened before, like the pallets dumped, but it's just a couple of cases are sliding forward, and I got to push them back into place, whatever. But this is the entire fucking pallet. And the worst part is that it was a double stacked pallet. So I had to take everything off the top pallet and then remove that pallet and then fix the pallet on the bottom. Everything on the top pallet was fine. The 24-ounce cases were fine.
Well, then we can switch over to Chris's perspective. He's in the liquor store.
Okay.
How bad is it for you to get the stuff delivered to you?
Well, here in Indiana, we're kind of spoiled where the delivery driver has to put up all the stock.
Oh, that is different.
Yeah. It's not how they do it here in New York. When I delivered to liquor stores, I would just drop off the product, get the signature or the money, however, and leave. It's the responsibility of the liquor store employees to put away their product. Now, there are places like gas stations that I had to put the product away for them. And there are other places where we actually have somebody who is hired as a merchandiser to put product away. But not for liquor stores. But then again, for liquor stores, we only drop off maybe 5 cases at a time. It's not like it was too bad.
Yeah, at our liquor stores, we get anywhere from 150 to 300 cases dropped off at one time.
Is it all from... Does all of your stuff come from one...
No, I actually have 3 different deliveries a week. 2 different beer deliveries. Both of them are in that range, 100 to 300 cases. And then the other delivery is just liquor. And now those boxes, they just kind of, they bring them in and drop them off, and we put everything out. But with the beer, there's just so much that comes in. I mean, it's not like I can stop handling with customers to put up all the beer.
So your store sells beer and liquor at the same time?
Yeah.
That's neat.
Okay, because in New York, it's actually illegal to do that. You get a choice, either one or the other. You can't do both. You have to do either liquor or beer.
Yeah, we can do both with cigarettes.
With cigarettes.
Oh, see, that you can't do that at all.
No. You can do beer and cigarettes. You can do liquor on its own. But you can't do a combination of the 3. It's
actually how states are different.
States are so weird. Like New York, you can't sell mead unless it's literally just mead. If it's just mead that you're selling, have at it. If you're trying to combine it with any other liquor, nope. Can't do it.
It's so weird because a lot of this stuff is related to what they call old blue book laws. You're kind of being mandated on how to do things from laws that were written in the 1920s and 40s and shit like that. Yeah, and every state is wildly different. Like we used to not be able to sell beer on Sunday, and so everybody would drive across the bridge to either Kentucky or Illinois, depending on where you live, to go get your Sunday beers. And it wasn't until last year they passed the law to allow Sunday beer sales at liquor stores. So
it's like our friend in Pennsylvania can't even have alcohol at all now. All the alcohol is shut down.
Well, that's really? COVID.
Yeah, because their liquor stores are government owned, and it's not deemed essential in Pennsylvania. So there's no alcohol sales in Pennsylvania. Even
if you go to Walmart?
They're not supposed. There is no alcohol at Walmart. You can only get alcohol at a government run business in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I
'Cause
used to
Our
live in
Walmarts have
PA.
wall-to-wall liquor. It's
Ours
crazy.
do too.
Yeah, our Walmarts here in New York have liquor and beer that you can get from the aisle. But in Pennsylvania, it wasn't the case when I lived
So
there.
right now they're going crazy because there's no alcohol.
Yeah, it's like prohibition, which
Huh.
is fucked.
Well, we are in the 20s.
That's not funny. It's not funny. I don't appreciate that. Did you ever cook that ham?
Oh yes, I'm supposed to talk about that because Anthem told me I have to.
Okay, so well, do Anthem a favor, talk about the ham, and do me a favor, talk about the ham.
Well, I gotta explain to Chris about the ham.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Salem got a ham at work, a big ham,
Big old Sugardale.
and I have kids, so he gave it to me.
Because I'm not going to eat a whole ham by myself.
I've never cooked a whole ham in my life. I can never afford that. It's always been ham steaks. So I went to a friend of mine who does a huge Easter spread and said, "How do you cook this darn thing?" And 3 hours later, we had a glazed
No
ham.
juicy details or anything. Nope. 3 hours later, folks. That's all you get.
What?
Fuck
Fine,
you, I'm Dusty.
I took honey.
I grabbed a ham. I
and
talked to
brown
a
sugar.
friend. 3 hours later, ham.
Fine.
That's essentially the extent of it. Yeah.
I took honey, brown sugar, cinnamon, like something else I can't remember. Put it together. Had to nuke it because it was too thick. Basted the darn thing. Covered it in tin foil.
See,
put it in for an hour and 40 minutes.
Now we know.
Pulled it out. Basted it again.
Now we know the process.
Put it back in.
Now my mouth is watering. Okay.
And it came out perfect.
Well,
we've been
good.
eating ham now for 3 days.
If you ever get another whole ham to cook, let me know. I have a fantastic recipe that isn't the Christmas or Easter spread standard. It's a little bit different. If you like your food to be a little bit spicier, but I have a really good ham recipe that my wife insists I make for every Thanksgiving and Christmas, because we do the whole spread. We do the big spread for Thanksgiving and Easter and all that stuff too. And I'm the one who does all the cooking. So I've got real good recipes for ham if you don't want to have the standard glazed ham.
Yeah, this is the first one I've ever had because my family was always poor. So growing up for Easter, it would just be a ham steak,
Right.
So this was a new thing for me.
Well, that's cool.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the ham.
Yeah. I don't celebrate holidays. I'm a single guy. No kids. So I just am. I exist. I don't go
I've got
to
a
families.
25-year-old daughter and a huge extended family because of friends. We all look at it like friends are the family that you get to choose. So we have a huge extended family based on that. So that's why we do the big deal, because everybody else within our crew, they're all single. They have distant family or no family to speak of, or family that they don't want to be around for whatever reason. So we do Thanksgiving and Christmas and all that stuff. We do that together with our friends. So
That's nice.
that's why we do such a big spread. And like every Thanksgiving, I spend an exorbitant amount of money every Thanksgiving for no particular reason other than the fact that I like to cook it all. Me and my best friend, my co-host for the show, we have done Thanksgiving everybody for, I think, until he moved to Arizona last year. We did it 17 years straight, and every year the spread got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
That's
So,
nice.
Yeah.
We haven't had a big Thanksgiving in a long time since my parents, have been getting sicker. Like this year, Mom actually went in for a pacemaker and got out on Thanksgiving Day. So Dad and I went to Denny's and got to-go meals for the kids and them, because we didn't even know Mom was coming home until they said, okay, she can go home. So life's different now. And now it's really
good thing she got to come home. That's awesome.
It is. I miss him. I haven't seen him in a month this quarantine. But anyway, that's sad. Let's not talk sad.
Why don't we talk happy? You got anything happy there, Dusty? Because you're the one depressing the fuck out of us.
Yes, actually. My doctor's appointment is online next week.
What do you mean online? Like, what,
Now,
you're
I
just gonna
remember having
Skype
a
each other?
conversation with you earlier this week, Dusty, whenever I said, I bet you don't go to the doctor's office. And you said, oh, yeah, I will.
Well, I did. I did last week and the week before,
Uh-huh.
but the next one coming up is going to be virtual. And you know what's great about that? There's no scale to stand on.
They're gonna ask you for your weight.
Do I have to tell them?
No, just tell
I
them you
don't
don't
know.
have a scale.
There we go.
Tell them you don't have a scale. I mean, you do have a scale. I see it right there. I could see that it's dusty and hardly used.
My apartment's too small.
Just throw that out there.
Technically,
But no, I'm actually looking forward to not having to go through that quarantine tent and the security guards and all that jazz. It'll be nice to just stay home and just use a
I
webcam.
was so shocked last week to hear that you live in New York and that you were going to the hospital with the way everything is just because New York is one of the epicenters of where the
Yeah,
big
we
blow
are.
up is happening, and I was just like, there's no fucking way you're going to the doctor.
Well, it's to be fair, it's not a hospital. It's a medical center for neurologists and
Regardless.
specialists.
Right.
It's a center of
But
people that are probably sick.
yeah, and you have to worry so much about all the other caregivers because they're getting this huge virus overload. If they're on the front lines, well, if one of those people have to make a delivery to your place that isn't a standard hospital, it's more of a care center. Well, then, you don't know for sure if everything's been contaminated or not. So, I mean, it has to get to a point where they have to refuse people coming just so they can make sure everything the whole point of the quarantine working is nobody spreading germs in other places. And they found that that thing is living for up to 17 days on metal and plastic surfaces. Those boats that they quarantined, that all those passengers came in from Italy and on those China cruises and all that stuff, they went back and they retested all of them, and they're still finding that the virus is living on there. And this has been almost a month. So, I mean, they have to be, especially someone who's in a critical care situation or someone who's, extremely at risk. They have to take every precaution possible. If we're going to follow the quarantine through, we're going to see it through until it really works. They have to take those measures, I think.
Mm.
I'm really glad they are, because it was a little nerve-wracking. I mean, grant you, they sterilized everything I touched before I touched it. After I touched it, they followed me around. I had a security guard that was mine. But it is nerve-wracking knowing that I'm high risk and
Yeah.
I'm in that situation.
Yeah, I would be scared to death for you in that situation for sure.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be that guy, but I thought we had mentioned breaking away from the depressing
Yes,
conversation.
we did.
This episode of the Sock Drawer brought to you by the epicenter of COVID-19. We may or may not see you next week. Da 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 da.
Oh, stop.
just saying.
Hey, some people are enjoying this, like my kids are, until Monday when I break their hearts.
In what way, shape, or form?
Well, for the last month, they've had no school. And they didn't have anything online either, because half of our district is too poor for internet or computers, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Somebody, I don't know who, came through and got a bunch of hotspots and tablets for the poor families that couldn't have it.
Okay.
So school goes live Monday online. They actually have to
Awesome.
log in and attend.
Well, that's great. So how does it
They'll
work?
be
You know?
creepy at first, but I bet they'll be excited by the time it's all over with, because now it's a digital interface. It's the simulated classroom kind of a deal. Like, kids will take to that. They won't be bummed out about it as much as you're worried about, I bet.
Because I mentioned that the possibility to my teenage son, and he's like, but my gaming group has it to meetings on Monday. I'm like, no, it doesn't.
Not anymore.
So, but my daughter's excited, but she's also younger.
Yeah.
She's in 6th grade. So they've been doing little virtual meetings already through Google Classroom, where they just sit down and talk to their friends and the teachers and didn't do anything. Now they're going to actually be learning. The son, he's in high school. He's like, I don't want to.
Yeah, and that's expected for a high schooler. But the younger kids, they'll take to it like like it's the best thing ever. So, they'll probably, whenever it comes time for school year next year, late September, or whenever you guys go back, they'll be like, why can't we do it like we did during COVID? That's probably what you'll hear.
I wouldn't be surprised, actually.
Today's Salem observation is brought to you by the fact that, unfortunately, we're an audio podcast, but every time you talk about your children, and every time you say something that, say, your child has said, the face you make
is bad or good?
It's just bad. I can't describe it. It's like scrunchy. And you put your voice up a couple of octaves because apparently you're trying to imitate a child's voice, which you don't need to. You don't have to imitate your child's voice. It's okay. Just use your own voice.
It's not intentional.
That's mommy lingo, man. Get used to it. That's just the way moms are.
I don't need to get. I guess I got to get used to it. Yeah, you are 100% a mother.
I would hope so. I've got 2 kids.
Just like no. There's a person who's had kids, and then there's like the mom personality. Okay, you sit very, very healthily at that mom personality. You know how there's a Karen personality, that I want to talk to the manager personality, that certain haircut style and those big ass sunglasses. Yeah, you're not that. You're the mom personality.
I don't think that's bad.
No, nothing bad about that at all.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that.
Drink your water. I'll talk to Chris.
We can drink my water.
Far worse is the Karen personality. That's the bane of every bartender's existence.
Oh my God.
Can I have a Tito's and water, and I need 3 limes? Why the fuck do you need 3 limes?
So they actually do that to you?
Oh, God. It's horrible. Like, Karens really exist, and they really do that shit. Oh, yeah.
They like having a lime graveyard.
Well, what's the worst customer you ever had?
I did a bachelorette party, and obviously a woman was getting remarried, and the entire bachelorette party, I had 22 Karens in one party.
Oh,
and it was... Now, they had fun with me and everything, because I'm a big guy and all this other stuff, and they were playing these bachelorette party games, like get a bald guy to put his head on your tits or whatever, or have a bald guy carry you around or whatever. So I fit the bill for a lot of these games that they were doing, unfortunately. So they had fun with me, but man, it was a wear-out session from hell. Because not only do I have this party of 22 that I'm dealing with, I'm also behind the bar dealing with everybody else. They're just sitting in the section that the bartender takes care of at this very high volume bar and club that I work at. And they were absolute hell, because the drunker they got, the more Karen they got. And the more Karen they got, the cuteness wore off very quickly. Trust me. It was
Did they at least tip well?
Oh yeah. I mean, I got tipped really well off of it, and got phone numbers and all that good stuff, which doesn't do me any good anymore because I'm married. But I mean, it all in all, it wasn't bad. But at the end of the day, having to deal with, I got my Karen fix for the day. Let's just put it like that. Being a bartender,
it sounds like you got it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it was a moment.
I think the only thing that could have made that worse was if there was a karaoke machine nearby.
Thank God for that. Karaoke is, I will drink another case of beer and shoot myself if another person sings. That's what karaoke means.
So which do you prefer, the liquor store or bartending?
Oh, bartending by far. All the action, all the people, the money's quick. I could go in. My shift is Thursday through Saturday night. And again, I work at a very, very high volume place. And we're talking the kind of place that it's no problem to run $50,000 on a Friday night kind of place.
Wow.
And so I work Thursday through Saturday night, 3 days a week, basically 20 hours. And I come home with $1,000 or more. And that's it.
Real nice.
So that gives me a whole lot of time to do what I love doing, which is the podcasting and everything. And now with the liquor store, working 45 hours and to make, $400, And then not only that, do I have customers, they know I'm a bartender because it's in a neighborhood that I live in. They're pointing out bottles and they're like, "Oh, how can I make a drink with that?" And I'm like,
I love it.
that falls under the category of GTS. Google that shit. I am not gonna fucking tell you how to make drinks while you're buying the liquor from it. Go home and look it up.
Yeah, no, I would not ask a bartender how to make the drink that I'm drinking. Well, I mean, my drink of choice is literally just like a Jack and Coke. I know how to make a Jack and Coke, but
Right.
like,
But dealing with the public as a liquor store employee versus a bartender is two entirely different things. Bartender, you can run a lot on personality, have conversations with people, tell them to fuck off if they're getting out of hand, whatever, all of this stuff. Liquor store, it's just, they walk up, "Hey, can I get this?" or "Will you get me that?" or whatever. And it's just, it's not my cup of tea, but the pay on it is far more than what you'll get as a bartender on unemployment right now, because a bartender in Indiana only makes $2.35 an hour. Everything is tips.
that's
So,
insane.
Well, I've got some friends that are complaining about that because their waitresses over down here at the different bars, and they can't make enough to live on unemployment. Same thing.
yeah,
There's
in
nothing for them.
New York, the scale is far more than what it is in Indiana, or at least it is in New York City. But because I'm part of the bartenders union, and so I talk to people all across the country about, how it works in California, or how it works in Georgia, how it works in New York, and how it works at the
Well,
beach resorts and all of that other shit. So
you got to remember, New York City is a different beast. It's like our
totally.
bars in this area. You say 50,000 in one night. They're lucky if they pull that down in a couple months. We're small.
I wouldn't say that, but
We're small.
yeah, we're small. But I would say a couple of months.
All I know is
And I've
that
worked
my
in
friends that are waitresses, they can't survive. They've got 3 kids and not enough money coming in.
and bartenders are one of the only breeds of workers in the nation where it's not an exception to the rule. It is the rule. Like all of us, just as a matter of course, all have a second job or a third job. Like it's almost very typical to talk to a bartender and then find out the bartending thing isn't the only gig. Like I work at the radio station, and I do some sales as well. And so, I have a couple of things going on along with the podcast. So, like for some tables or some groups, I'm an interesting part of the conversation just because they want to hear what's going on in Chris's world this past week, because they all know that I do all this different shit. So, yeah. Anyways.
Probably should have gotten to that. Probably should have asked Chris what's going on in his week. We have you here. I don't know. This past week was I
We're
had
actually coming up on movie time.
yeah, I had 4 days off because of Good Friday. So I really didn't get around to much because I like to stay home, or either stay home or come here when I gotta record. But I just kind of watched movies and stuff. But I didn't watch movies that I haven't seen before. I rewatched stuff.
Well,
In our house, we are Wiccan, which means Good Friday through Easter. We refer to it as Happy Zombie Observation Day.
Right.
yes.
But but we still celebrate with the friends and the kids. You never want to jade them one way or the other. Let them figure it out on their own. So we've always observed for our daughter, because her friends do. We didn't want her to feel weird or whatever. But now that she's old enough, like, she doesn't observe it either. She feels the same way about it that we do. But we never pushed any of that one way or the other on her. But yeah, we've always called it Zombie Observation Day.
Well, the movie we're going to discuss this week, because we tend to review one because we can't do alcohol right now because it's hard for us to go get. Salem had me watch a movie that he loves and I've never seen, and it's old, but you'll know it. Go ahead, Salem. What'd you make me watch? Yep.
So apparently Dusty had never watched The Shawshank Redemption.
Nope.
Really?
Yeah.
Nope. I don't know how, but it.
That's one of
Never saw
the
it.
very best adaptations of a Stephen King movie there's ever been done.
Yeah, 100%.
That might be probably why I didn't watch it. Stephen King, I automatically associate with horror. I don't watch horror, and I didn't know it wasn't horror.
Yeah, I was gonna say that you have no culture, but I also refuse to watch rom-coms, so
Yeah.
there you go.
So I actually did enjoy.
Yeah, that was
Shawshank.
actually one of the questions that you had for me because I was like, all right, I'm gonna pull this up for you, and you're like, but isn't this horror? And I'm like, no. Do some homework. Come on. Like it literally tells you, like Netflix tells you what the fucking what it is. It's a drama. Oh no, look at
I
that.
never looked at it.
God.
But anyway, how do you feel about Shawshank, Chris?
Andy Dufresne was my friend. I love Shawshank Redemption. You get to see Morgan Freeman really show off a lot of his scope. You get to see Tony Robbins, of course, who became a real powerhouse after Jacob's Ladder, another horror movie. But he really came into his own after Bull Durham doing Jacob's Ladder, and then coming into this movie, he was able to play an aloof aristocrat in a very rough yard of people. And he does go through some scary things. If you look at the movie at a topical level, there is some horror in there where he has to deal
Yes.
with the three sisters raping him every day, or the fact that you've got a few old men who are really demented and they're keeping pet mice in their pockets. Really shows the horror of being alone and being locked up in a prison, and the way that the guards treated them. A couple of the inmates were killed by the guards. A couple of inmates were killed by other inmates. I mean, there's a lot of horror at a topical level of it, but at the end of
I'll
the
agree.
day, it is the drama that gets you through it. But definitely a very good movie. I believe it was nominated for 3 Oscars, and it did win a couple of SAGs, and definitely well deserved. Morgan Freeman was nominated at the Oscars, and so was Tony Robbins as well. And
I think it's
Steve,
Tim Robbins.
sorry, Tim Robbins, my bad. That's where my co-host Joe comes in. He's way better with the names, and I'm better with all of these stats on everything. But Tim Robbins received a nomination as well for the supporting, and then the screen adaptation of the Stephen King original story received a nomination. If I'm correct on that, I don't know if it was an Oscar nomination or a SAG nomination, but the screenplay itself was given a nomination as well, and um, just a really in-depth look at the soul, how you're able to endure such a storm, endure all of these tragedies and all of these terrors, and come out on the other side and find a way to still be human again. The redemption of Red getting released and hooking back up with his friend at the end of the movie, and Andy Dufresne going through everything that he did, and composing the plan to be able to escape on the night of the thunderstorm, and stick it to the warden at the same time. Just an incredibly good ride, and really well written dialogue. It's a very dialogue driven movie. There's no special effects or action, so to speak. And just the screenplay and the direction and production of the movie was all done very well. I think it's by far the best Stephen King adaptation for a movie that's ever been done.
Beats the fuck out of it.
Well, I don't, as I said, I don't do horror because modern horror seems to be just throw gore at the screen and don't be scary.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't watch this because I thought it was that kind of thing.
No.
My bad. Now I want the book.
Right.
Now I want to see what the book is because
If
I
you read
really
the book, you'll
enjoy
see
seeing
the
how people
story.
think and why they do what they do.
I didn't hear Chris.
If you read the book, you'll see where the horror story of Stephen King actually comes in, and some of the stuff they left out, just so the storytelling could really take front seat. But yeah, it's the book is very, very good as well.
I'm putting it on my wish list. My birthday's coming.
I think I read somewhere that Tim Robbins actually wanted to be put into solitary confinement for a bit.
He's a huge method actor, and that's a true story. He wanted to do that so that way he could get in touch with what Andy Dufresne was really going through. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Because in the movie, Andy spent what? It was 2 months and 3 weeks total of solitary confinement
Yes.
throughout his 20 years
Yeah, he
in
got one
prison.
60-day bit on one of them, actually. One
Yeah.
of them was 2 months by itself.
No. It
No,
was
it
a
was
month and then it
the
was 2 months
yeah.
in total. Yeah, he got
Yeah,
thrown in for a month, and then the ward was like, "Fuck you, here's another
Stay in
month."
there another month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
which is
Yep.
just a horrible thing to do to another person. And
Big time.
the fact that he was able to come out of it with his mind intact and formulate the plan, and none of his friends in the yard were none the wiser of what was going on. Uh, just it's in the past 25 years, it's probably one of the 10, maybe 15 most influential Oscar nominated movies that have been done, just because of the storytelling and the scope and power of the story. As far as Oscar nominated movies, it's probably one of the 15 most important that's been done in the past 25, 30 years.
yet it was a box office fail.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That usually that's the way it works though. The really good movies are.
Yeah,
It's developed much more of a cult following after its box office release. It's become way more appreciated since than it ever was while it was in the theaters.
Well, I'm glad it has because I never would have had a chance to watch it if Netflix hadn't had it.
I think we have time for the other movie that I had you
Not really.
watch.
We only have 9 minutes left.
Oh, sweet.
I want to do that one justice.
Okay, all right.
That can wait till next week.
Then that can wait till next week. I tell you what, we're coming down on the time. Chris,
Yeah.
why don't you let us know where we can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can email us directly at whatyoureffingBinge@gmail.com. You could go to our website, whatyoureffingBinge.com. You can also find us on Facebook at What's Your Effing Binge. There's 3 different pages dedicated to our show, along with my public page of Christopher S. Rutter. And then you can also find us under What's Your Effing Binge on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and TikTok. You can also reach us through hashtagging dumpster juice or hashtag effing binge. Any comment made with those hashtags in it, come back to us. And that's basically it.
Now I got to ask you, how long have you been known as What's Jeff and Binge?
Maybe close to a year.
That's cool. I like
And
that.
yet you have all that media already. We are behind.
Yeah, no, we're fucking.
Then again,
Well,
we've only on episode
did
21.
we
So.
did an obscene amount of research, and I spent a lot of money learning from some social media professionals how to set up all of your social media so that way all of your media works together and all that good stuff. But we did an obscene amount of research to make sure that our show was truly one of a kind. The name wasn't in anywhere in the ballpark of anyone else's, along with the premise of the show not being done anywhere, anyhow. You know, there's all kinds of TV and movie review shows, but the way we do it isn't being done in any close. It's not being done close to any kind of way by anyone else. So we did a lot of research before we launched.
I got to tell you, two people talking into a microphone isn't exactly.
We're not novel. We know we're not. People listen to us because they just want to hear us.
Yeah, but that's kind of what we go for as well. Is it's just if you enjoy the time that you spent, then that's all we care about.
It takes time, guys. You know, our first few episodes, me and Joe would joke and be like, "Hey, I think we have 3 fans now," or last week we had 12 listeners. It just takes time. You just got to be consistent and keep putting out content that and keep pushing your social media. You can never post enough content. Always post stuff.
Yeah.
Says the guy who can barely tell where we are. That's it. I'm going to make you do where can we be found because you screw it up every week.
I screw it up every time. Let's see. We're on Facebook as the Sock Drawer Podcast.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm not even looking at you, but I know you're glaring at me like a hawk again. Okay, Twitter, we're the Sock Drawer SD. YouTube is Realm of the Mist. YouTube is Realm of the Mist. Places like Pandora and Spotify are new Realm of the Mist. Anchor has Realm of the Mist.
What's our webpage?
Our webpage is the sockdrawerpodcast.com. We actually have a webpage now. That's pretty cool. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, you did good.
Let's see. Is there anything else that Sock Drawer is on? You can actually find us through Facebook using hashtags.
Yes.
Yes, we have hashtag Ramble Rant, hashtag. I love this one. My questions have backstories. And crap, what's our other hashtag? Oh no, my perfect record is going to be broken. No.
There's 3.
I know there's 3. Okay, I can't remember.
I can't even remember.
She can't remember it either.
It's not one of mine.
But anyway, Chris, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Appreciate it, guys.
It was a lot of fun to talk to get to know you better. I definitely want to check out a lot more of Chris's content.
Yes.
You guys are gonna drop this Monday, is that correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
we're a Monday show.
Okay, so in between now and then, send me all of your tags so that way I can publish it on our group that we're appearing on your show, so that way you can get a whole lot of crossover. Okay?
Oh, sure. We appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably don't need our help, sending all your tags our way, man.
Our 13 listeners would love it.
We'll hook you up, buddy. We promise.
All right, then.
Chris, thank you so much for joining us. You have a wonderful day. And everyone listening, you have a wonderful week. We will see you on Monday.
Done.
All right. So
Now you remember how to do this?
that is no longer